Hello, I am back and we are going to go over the homework. I didn't have as many. I think some of us are kind of behind. So today I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to still do a video. I'm going to still go over your homework. I'm going to still point out some things, and then I'm going to give you some problems to do, but I don't need you to send them in. Okay, I'm going to have you pause the video, try them. Now this is just kind of like I hope you're going to actually do what I'm asking, because I'm going to go over the problems I give you. And if you're just flying through the video and don't actually pause, then you're not really going to get what you need to out of it. And then on Friday, tomorrow, I'm going to ask you to just do some practice. So I'm not going to make a video. It's just going to be kind of like putting everything together, so I can give you some feedback. All right. So basically the goal of today is to make sure we can now put together the cosecant, secant, tangent, and cotangent graphs. Okay. All right. So let's go through the homework problems. So cotangent was this problem. Our amplitude is none, but our quote-unquote amp that will help us find our vertical stretch is 2. All right, then our period, now remember, this is kind of the weird or different thing. The period for cotangent and tangent is pi over b, and our b is an imaginary 1, so it's just going to be pi. Okay, so then we're going to divide by 4. Divide that period by 2, and then times the first tick mark by 3. Alrighty, and then cotan has asymptotes in the middle and on the end. Honestly, you guys, this is just kind of like memorization. You just got to kind of know where they go. All right, and then we can plot our points. Now, it is a reflection, so let's make a little star there. Oh, that's lovely. And cotangent is typically a decreasing graph, if you remember that from yesterday's lesson. So this instance, it's going to be increasing. So we're going to start at the bottom, midline, and go to the top, and then make our little curve as best we can. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing. Start at -2, go to the midline, go to 2. And so there we have it. All right, so let's look at 6. So tangent, our amplitude is none, but our quote-unquote amplitude is going to be 1, which is no change from the parent function. And then our period is going to be pi over, and then here's that imaginary 1. So we have this 1/3, and then we keep change flip. And so we should have 3 pi. Okay, so 3 pi is going to go here. This is still the thing that we're struggling the most with, and I totally get it. It's not the easiest thing. But if you just follow my suggestions, for the first tick mark, we're going to divide by 4. That does not simplify. So that's for the first tick mark. For the second tick mark, we're going to do 3 pi divided by 2. All right, so we divide by 4. We divide by 2. That doesn't simplify. And then for the third tick mark, we take the first tick mark, so 3 pi over 4, and we're going to times it by 3. And that's 3 over 1, which will be 9 pi over 4. Okay? And then tangent has asymptotes, 2 to the right and 2 to the left. And then tangent is an increasing graph, and we don't have a reflection or anything, so it's going to continue to increase. So we're going to start here, and we're going to increase. And then we're going to do the same thing again. Start at -1, go to 0, and then that last dot's going to be up. Okay? Now, this one's always the one that you have to think a little bit about. You're working backwards, so you're seeing the end. So it's like you're seeing the top point, the middle point, and you don't know the low point. I mean, you do know where it's going to go, we just don't have it. So, does everybody kind of get that? All right. And then pause it if you need to go back, okay, or rewind. And then 1/3 tangent, our amplitude is going to be none, but our quote-unquote amp is going to be 1/3, which is a vertical compression. Oh, y'all, I just realized I didn't say it up here, did I? Okay, so here, my fault. This 1/3, your B is less than 1, so it's a horizontal stretch. Okay, sorry. Okay, so now our period is going to be 2 pi over, oops, I almost just made a mistake. Make sure I didn't do that over there. Yeah, I did not. Okay, y'all see how it's easy, and I'm a teacher and I've done this forever. I was just about to instinctively do 2 pi, but this is tangent, so we're going to do pi over b, and our b is 4. And so that's going to be our 4th tick mark here. All right, so we're going to do pi over 4, and then we're going to divide by 4. So that's pi over 4 times, you know, we can put a 1 under here. So it'll be pi over 16. Then we're going to do pi over 4, and we're going to divide it by 2. So that's pi over 4 times 1/2, which will give me pi over 8. And then we're going to take the first tick mark, pi over 16, and we're going to times it by 3, which will be 3 pi over 16. Okay? And then tangent has asymptotes 2 to the right, and then 2 to the left. Ooh, that was pretty bad. And now I can plot my points. It doesn't have a reflection, so it's just going to be increasing. So start at the bottom, middle, top. You'll notice I always kind of do the middle one first, just to make sure it looks right. And then I go to the ends. So bottom, middle. I know the last point's going to be up top, but I don't have to put it because I don't have a tick mark. And then this is going in reverse order. So the top, like so. Okay? Alright, so now make sure you got those right with your homework. Some of you said you had to watch the video another time or two to make sure it was right. I think that's excellent, you know. Like I said before, it's kind of the silver lining or the nice thing about virtual learning is that you can kind of pause and rewind as needed. Okay, so I wanted to make this note of putting it all together because we're going to pull eventually next week sine and cosine in and kind of be done with this unit. But before we pull sine and cosine in, we got to make sure we can do all 4 of these together. So when we put them all together, cosecant, secant, tangent, and cotangent, the biggest thing is that the periods are going to be different. Okay, so the period is going to be 2 pi for which 2 graphs? Well, the ones that are reciprocals of sine and cosine. So it's going to be the cosecant and secant. All right, that's 2 pi over b. And then the period's going to be pi over b for tangent and cotangent. Okay, I cannot stress to you how much that is important because that'll mess up your tick marks, you know, if you do not have those formulas correct. So that's very clear. And then the asymptotes. So the asymptotes are really going to just stay in the same spot every time. We're going to kind of move the tick marks, labeling them ourselves when we change the period. So the asymptotes are always going to stay in the same spot. So let's kind of review those just to make sure you kind of remember. Let's actually start with tan and cotan first, because we just got through doing those. So if you remember, tan was 2 to the right and 2 to the left. Cotangent is right in the middle and then on the ends. Okay? All right, now the way that we remember cosecant, to me anyways, the way that I remember it is based on their reciprocals. So cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Okay, I'm just going to kind of make a note, and this is the reciprocal of cosine. So if you remember, sine started here and it went up on the right and down on the left. Well, if we're reciprocating 0, we can't do that, okay? So that's where our asymptote is going to land, anywhere where there was a 0. So cosecant's here, and then it's every other one. So skip 1 and put it, skip 1 and put it. Skip 1, asymptote, skip 1, asymptote. Okay? And then if you remember, sine goes up on the right and down on the left, so will your first ones. Your parabolas, up on the right, down on the left. Alright, so secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Cosine starts up at 1, or up at the amplitude, and so will secant. So then it's going to be like that, and then skip. 1, put an asymptote, skip 1, put an asymptote, and then it goes, starts at the top and then it goes down on both sides. Okay, and then obviously it's going to go back up here and here. Same thing with this one, it'll go down and back up. I'm just really trying to emphasize the asymptote. So I would keep coming back to this video if I were you as you do these to make sure that you understand that the asymptote should be in the right spot. Okay? All right, at this point, this is where I want you to pause the video and I want you to do these 4 examples. All right, now I am going to keep going in just a second and go over these. So there is nothing to turn into me today. I need a kind of breath to catch, I need a break to catch my breath with how many messages and everything I'm having to respond to. So just do some self-check here. All right, so pause the video and then I'm going to go forward in just a second and go over these. All right, so hopefully you have paused. You've spent a few minutes trying these before. So if y'all are cheating right now, you better stop. You better go back. All right. Don't make me come to your house. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna come to your house. And let's go over these. All right. So let's do our amp. I'm going to assume everybody's okay that the amplitude is actually none, so I'm just going to skip writing that part and just put the 1/2 and then the vertical compression. And then the period. All right, so this is cosecant. So is cosecant 2 pi or pi? Cosecant should be 2 pi over b, which is a 1/3. So when we do keep change flip, which will be 6 pi, which this 1/3 is less than 1, which is a horizontal stretch. It's the opposite of what you think. You notice I just paused for a second, okay? All right.